Hello everyone, it is the Redmen podcast. We are here, we're going to be discussing a whole bunch of different things, least of all, obviously Liverpool's massive sort of games looming on the horizon. We've got Arsenal, and you've got it open on your laptop, mute it.
It's there.
Chris has decided to play as in his ears, fucking sort it out. It's not. Have you got the show open on YouTube?
It up. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, there we go. Fantastic, brilliant. I can't imagine how annoying it is for you guys listening to my voice. I now get it. Yes, anyway, I'm Paul Mitchell. Chris Pajak joins me in the studio.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah, he's back.
Fucking shit, bro.
Steve Hoare is back as well. Sam Walker's back. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of things we're going to get through today on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're live and you've got anything you want to discuss with us, let us know in the comments and what have you. Yeah, before we dive in, I got some sad news. Claude, who's obviously known for his time on Arsenal Fan TV, has sadly passed away. Obviously not someone who we saw on a regular basis, but we've both worked with him on a number of occasions. Just obviously thoughts and feelings go out to his family. Obviously we don't know the circumstances around it. They've asked to leave his family alone to grieve and what have you in this time, which obviously everyone should do. But yeah, I never had any.
With us, he was always sound, and I remember speaking to him and have a proper footy conversation with him, and there was no this banterist one-upmanship or anything from it. It was just a conversation about football every time I spoke to him. So yeah, a little bit gutted about that. So yeah, as Paul said there, thoughts go out to him and his family.
Yeah, it's mad for someone who's known as because he's famous for his sort of rants and what have you. But that was that, and I never had any sense of him being anything less than a lovely man. He was always great with me, and he always had a kind word and a smile and what have you. So yeah, not shit. And anyway, it is what it is. Right, yes, we've got a whole bunch of things to talk about. We're going to be talking about. So Mohamed Salah's done an interview with Marca. It's doubtless going to leave all kinds of people's heads falling off left, right and centre. We're going to be talking about that because I don't think it's quite as big a deal as will be reported. We're going to be talking about Ibrahim Konate. We're going to be talking about how the next 5 games define Liverpool's season. But first, we've got a kick-off question, and it comes from Horrible Grandma on Twitter. Who says, when have you ever been jealous of another fan base? And a good example of this, he says, for me, it was Carlisle when Jimmy Glass scored the goal that kept them up. Got any examples, Chris?
Yeah, it was when Manchester United won the treble in 1999.
Okay.
I mean, for a start, they just won the treble. The way in which they won it as well, it was probably the greatest European Cup fan ever at that point. Since it's been usurped, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, massively jealous then. That team was brilliant as well, and we were nowhere near them, so I think that added into it.
Yeah, definitely. Steve?
Yeah, probably topical as well, given the news in recent days, but I mean, the Man City fans, when Aguero scored the Aguero goal, that's one that, listen, winning the title any time you can win a title is amazing, and having to go through that would be horrendous. But on the other side of it, I bet you every single City fan who's in that stadium just wouldn't rather have had it any other way. You know, that 90 minutes before the game, they wanted to beat Crystal Palace, they wanted to beat QPR 7-0 and have it done. But now they know the outcome. I imagine just being in that ground when he scored that goal must have just been, as experiences go, I've seen Liverpool score big goals to win big trophies before, but to have that goal to win that trophy must have just been out of this world. It must have been amazing.
I agree with that one. You're right, it's topical because of the Aguero stuff. But you're right, that moment and the fact that you're stealing the title away from Man United, the last guy, I remember I was watching that and me and my dad celebrated that goal. It's mad because it's a football moment that you get swept up in. It's mad to sort of say that now because the rivalry with Liverpool and City's kind of grown over the years. But yeah, what an amazing moment that was. Sam?
Yeah, do you know, initially straight away, I was with Steve Aguero all day, I think, especially for us being Liverpool fans and what's just happened to us winning the league. Wait all this time and it's done at a cancer and we don't get to see it in the stadium. So that sort of brings it to the fore even more. But another one, just to try and be a little bit different, is in my DJing days, I was in Ibiza when Spain won the World Cup and it was class. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to get this feeling because even if England win it, I will never feel the way you do right now. So I suppose a different kind of envy, but in the same sort of context as well. It was good to see.
I can imagine that would be that's a belter one actually, Sam. There's another one that when you and Steve were talking about the Aguero one, because I remember watching the game and stuff like that, is the Blackburn-Liverpool game, and the fact that Kenny goes and wins the league title and yet Liverpool's still winning. But then you're sort of thinking at the time, aren't you, oh, he should be with us type of thing. So you're jealous for the manager, the man, and also the fact that they've won a league title as well. So that's up there for me.
Yeah, I was so lost in... we managed to win a game of football and United didn't win the league in one game. I mean, it shows how far we'd fallen, really, that's what it was. But no, you definitely... I wonder whether for me, there's like a moment, and one that stands in mind, there'll be better examples of it than this, but like playoff wins. So, or like, like there's that, or playoff goals. I think about the promotion goal. I think it was, oh my God, Troy Deeney for Watford, the one where it's down one end and then all of a sudden the ball ends up, it goes all the way down the other end of the pitch and they stick it and you see those moments. They're never quite rated in the same way. We've got European Cup wins and league wins and all that. But that having that extra game, playoff finals and going through it all, and then you drag yourself through like a cup competition to get to Wembley. I always think it's mad that it must feel 100 times better to win the playoffs when you could have finished like 5th or whatever than finishing 2nd in the league. You get a trophy, you get to have a day out at Wembley, you get all those things. So yeah, definitely those kind of things. Although I would never want to be in that situation. It's kind of cool because it's a situation I hope that we're never in. So yeah, there's definitely footy's just great, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Right, okay, yes, we're going to be talking about the Salah market interview. We're going to be talking about Ibrahima Konate and the next 5 games when we return from a very short break. But we have got an exclusive interview with Jamie Carragher previewing the Champions League, and it's available now on the redmentv.com.
And it keeps, we're in the international break, so you've got those couple of weeks now you can dream or look forward to a game. And if you get through the quarters, then the semis to come, and it's like, it's just... I don't believe right now, and I don't think many Liverpool fans believe they'll win the European Cup this year. But I think if we get through this round, I think we will then. Because I think once you're in the semi, and it takes me back to 2005, where we didn't believe before we played Juventus. But once you beat Juventus, even though we had Chelsea in the semi, it's a bit like... It's only 2 games. It's like a semi and a final. Anything can happen. So I think if Liverpool get through this round, I think that's when the belief will really kick in that someone big will have gone out from the other side of the draw. There might have been an upset with City Dortmund. And then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yes, welcome back. Yeah, we got the chance to sit down with Liverpool legend Jamie Carragher and talk about the Champions League, the hopes, the other teams in the other side of the draw, etc., who he thinks will make it to the final and what Liverpool's chances are. That is streaming now on the redmentv.com, as well as a whole host of wonderful exclusive content. We've got a load of Champions League documentaries as well. So if you want to relive some of our successes, and actually the Kiev one's interesting to be able to go back and kind of look at that one again and some of the great moments on the way, even though it didn't end well, because we know that ultimately it ended well. So yeah, go and check them out. They're all on the redmentv.com right now. There's also a show we're going to be talking about Konate in a minute, but the Reds News Roundup show is going out. It's being recorded tomorrow, where a little bit more of in-depth look at that, and we're doing ratings for the players in the Liverpool squad so far. Yeah, there's been 2 of those, and the third part is coming out this week. Right, Salah spoken to Marca. We were given this information moments before going on air, Chris, by Sai, who came in and went, and I'll give exactly how he said it. That Salah has been talking about moving to Real Madrid again. He's basically said he's gone. Sorry. It's not quite how the interview went, but undoubtedly we're going to see a wave of that. Like, I typed in Salah market on Google, and it's sort of like Salah gives a cold answer about his relationship with Jurgen Klopp and blah, 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 blah. What it is a basic 15 questions asking him about Real Madrid, and then they sneak in a couple of questions about his future at Liverpool. And without having, actually, I didn't see the actual interview, so tone's going to be massive in this. He just plays a very political, like, I'm not giving anything away, not answering anything, and he says nothing. But in saying nothing, if you choose to read something, it looks like he says everything.
Yeah, because there are things in there in the earlier part of the interview that you can take whichever way you want. He spoke about Zinedine Zidane in glowing terms. He spoke about how he was a hero. I mean, you went, Yeah, same. Bit of an idol for us as well, to be honest with you. So I'm not surprised. Plus, he's a manager that's been really successful with Real Madrid and stuff like that. It comes down to the last two questions, and I don't know whether you want to pull these up on the screen or whether we've got that ability.
We haven't got that, but no.
The questions are, do you see yourself in another club after 4 years in Liverpool? Is this the end of a cycle approaching? To which the answer is, it is not up to me. We'll see what happens, but I prefer not to talk about this now. I think you can take that both ways. I very much look at that and go, right, that's his bowler underarm. I'm just going to knock that away dead easily.
Yeah, I'm not going to be drawn into in a relaxed interview about a Champions League game. I'm not going to be talking about my future.
And then the second one is, you've played in Italy and England. You want to try Spanish soccer? I mean, for a start, soccer. Anyway.
Well, mine says Spanish football. I don't know what your Google Translate set to.
Well, it must be fucking American because it's shite. Anyway, I hope I can play football for many, many years. Why not? Nobody knows what will happen in the future, so maybe one day. And that's him saying, I'm not going to shut the door on anything right now, but then, it's not up to me.
I've got a long career ahead of me. But what I liked about the interview is how much he's just... I mean, because he gets asked about the Olympics, that's going to be a hot topic for him. He just says, are you going to play in the Olympics? Whatever happens, everyone will be in agreement, including my club. He's just saying, again, there's clearly... This doesn't feel to me like Salah going off script. This doesn't feel like, when Raheem Sterling's gone out and done a couple of little dodgy ones and you're like, that feels a little bit on the nose. But the problem is that because he had that previous interview, which I think people really, kind of overly read into, it feels like these two are connected. So inevitably, if you're looking for dots to join, there's enough there for you to draw a nice little picture if you're really so inclined.
Yeah, and also, is anyone shocked that Mo Salah might want to play for Real Madrid one day? Mo Salah probably wants to play for Real Madrid one day. Every other footballer on the planet probably wants to play for Real Madrid one day. That is what it is. Liverpool's job is to make it so that he doesn't join Real Madrid. So we keep winning things, keep paying him very, very handsomely. And it doesn't. I mean, every player at some point has probably had a little thought. You know what? I'd love to go and play in a full Bernabeu in that white kit for that team. So it doesn't shock me at all. And again, especially players from abroad, sometimes might be different. But Gareth Bale was an absolute superstar at Tottenham. The first chance he got to go to Real Madrid, he was gone. And that's because Tottenham couldn't match his ambitions. Liverpool's job is to make it so that he doesn't have to go to Real Madrid. I think the way the interview was conducted, and I've read pretty much all of it, is that they just snuck a couple of questions at the bottom, and he's kind of just tried to back them away as best he can. He's not bothered. Do you want to play in Spain one day? Yeah, maybe. Maybe yeah, maybe not. Do you want to talk about your future? No, I'm not talking about my future. But sometimes when you refuse to say something, people take it as if you're hiding something. It might genuinely be the fella just didn't want to talk about it. It doesn't mean...
It might have been that he knows what happened last time and he's just playing it extra cautious this time so that it doesn't happen. And what happens when you play it extra cautious, as Steve says, is you end up in another thing.
Let's play it extra cautious. His other approach to this is going, I'm not answering any questions about my future. Fucking hell. You know what I mean? Imagine if you could, that you couldn't be any more equivocal in shutting that down. And yet how much worse does that actually sound? What's he hiding? Why won't, you know what I mean? Does that mean that he's trying to blah, 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 blah? I mean, this is where he's at, Sam. When you're someone like Mo Salah and you're on that sort of level, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, there's also another layer to this that we probably haven't considered yet, is that he's coming up 29 and he's got 2 years left on his contract. I can't see Liverpool allowing that to sort of drip on into this time next year, because we're in big shit then for multiple reasons. So Salah probably, even if he wants to stay at Liverpool, he can't really come out and say, I want to stay at Liverpool, because he might know that the club are really only offering him 30 grand less than he's on now. Are we really going to pay him 250, 40 grand, which is the next step really from what he's on at the moment? So he's probably in a bit of a predicament at the moment, as well as the club are, because even if he wants to go to Real Madrid, how much is Michael Edwards going to pull the pants down for this time? Do you know what I mean? So I don't really, it's a tricky one. And I can see a little bit of truth in Salah's tone in that, to be honest. I don't know where I am with it, because speak to Liverpool, they hold all the cards, which is probably right.
There's another thing, isn't there? I think another part of this interview, and I'll read the question, how is your relationship with Klopp? Do you talk a lot? And he said, it is a normal relationship between two professionals. It's how I can explain it. That comes across, whatever tone you try and put on that, I can't imagine that that's going to come across quite cold and that the relationship is quite cold. Now, I don't know anything about their relationship, but I guess that for most people in our squad, the relationship is quite a warm relationship and stuff like that. So I think there might be something to read into
Everyone's
that. I don't think
expecting it to be Klopp's amazing, loving to bits.
That's it. Gerrard and Benitez had a cold relationship. you know, for the most part, didn't they? And look at what they achieved together. So sometimes that works, and sometimes it's just man management, how you're managing a player, because that might be the way that you think. You look at him and go, that's what he needs.
Yeah, no, it's true, isn't it? You're right. You know, I think that's the one that's a bit like, oh, that's a bit odd. But again, you know, I can phrase this one way, any way you want to look at it. It's that thing of if you feel like it's a leading question, like someone's good, almost like if you feel there's an undercurrent of, is there a problem between you and the manager? You'd be like, no, it's fine. You know what I mean? But I agree that because we love Jurgen and we expect everyone to be effusive, it feels odd. But again, I'm reading the words on a page that has been translated. I mean, literally, are you looking at the Marca website? Mm-hmm. We're both looking at the same website, and it's been translated differently.
What does yours say?
Well, no, I mean, like in terms of the phrasing and the wording on stuff. Like yours are saying things like soccer. You've got extra words in yours that aren't in mine. No, but this is the point. You know, this is what I'm talking about. We are literally we are both looking at the same web page and getting different results and stuff. Yeah, and then we'll join up in the middle, and then it'll be completely wrong because we've
he said he loved Jurgen. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But it's mad. But anyway, you're doubtless going to see a lot of that in the coming days in the build-up to the Real Madrid game, because there'll be fires to stoke, and Real Madrid are the masters of the dark arts and all this, and anything they can do to upset and unsettle Salah and all that, they'll be doing everything, even if it is stupid things like going through the press and whatever.
Have you got the Nelly Furtado advert?
Have I got
saying what happened to Nelly Furtado, and now I really want to know. It's like something bad happened to it, or
Que paso con Nelly Furtado?
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. From El Mundo.
Yeah, should we click it?
Nope, absolutely not.
Come on, we can tell everyone in the comments if you want me to.
You've killed one laptop today. Can we not kill another one? Yeah, definitely. Right, sounds.
I really want to know, Paul.
Yeah. Right, okay, we've got a couple of super chats before we move on to the Canate stuff. Ahmed Mohammed saying, just have one question. Sporting director for RB Leipzig said Canate to LFC a no-go. And yeah, and then a joke about Carragher. The sporting director for RB Leipzig, which was going to point out, was Marcus Krotcher, has basically said he's an extremely important player for the Bundesliga side, and he can't see it being a goer. Steve, the Leipzig and the Red Bull Sporting Group, they're not stupid. We had a lot of this with the Cater stuff, if you recall, where they're not going to come out and say everything's done and dusted, because it means that they're not going to have other suitors, and they'll know that there'll be 3 or 4 other clubs who'll be very interested in picking up Canate if possible. So it actually doesn't favour them in any way to sell a player when, you know, if it's not done, there's no need for them to say it's done.
Yeah, on the flip side, he's got a release clause, so it isn't really up to them. That's the flip side.
But he doesn't have to. That's the thing. He hasn't said there's no release clause, because that would be lying.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is he's just making it more difficult, because you're not supposed to know the fucking release clause.
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? So he's come out and he's doing the right thing from a sporting director point of view, isn't he, Steve?
Yeah, exactly. He's just looking after, and also they've got a season to play. You know, their other centre half's already signed for Bayern Munich. The last thing he needs is to have another one who's already signed for Liverpool. It's just PR-wise, it's not amazing, but yeah, he hasn't got any say in the matter. If Liverpool want this guy and pay the release clause like they did with Naby Keita, they're going to get him. It's the structure of deals, and it's all this kind of stuff that is different. But if ultimately he can't stop the guy leaving, if Liverpool want him, match his clause and give him all he wants, he's going to leave. I would tend to believe that that's more down the line than he's letting on. But like I say, it isn't in his best interest to say, oh yeah, he's off. He's off. You know, selling him makes no sense.
And again, when it's just simply not, when it's not done, you know, that's fine. And it means he gets to talk up the player, and I'm sure they'll want to keep him. You know, there's no way you don't want to let your two your best centre halves go in one season.
But don't you think it's quite clever what that Leipzig do? They don't set these ridiculous release clauses like a Real Madrid, different boat altogether. But they set it at the top end of what you should probably be expecting to pay these lads.
It's like a buy it now price, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. That's what I want to say. Yeah. They get to it, and then he goes, no, I don't want to sell him. Well, we're going to have to hit the release clause then. You're guaranteeing your minimum price. Yeah. And Leipzig do it time and time again, and no one goes, fuck, he's actually probably only worth 5 million less than that, but they don't want to sell him, so I'm just going to pay the release clause. And they sit there and go, we're not stupid. This is the price that we decided that we would be okay for selling him. We bought him in as a 17-year-old from FC Sochaux, and 4 or 5 years later, we're getting nearly 40 million euros for him. It's very smart what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
The flip side as well, mate, is that with all due respect, players aren't, like we mentioned Real Madrid before, players aren't dreaming of going to RB Leipzig. They're just, it's just a different project. So if you get a player to go, right, come to us and we will sell you in the future, and even if you're amazing, you're going to have this release clause. For example, Timo Werner was probably worth more than Chelsea got for him, but paid for him. Well, in the theory, he hasn't turned out that way yet, but in theory at the time he was. But he would never have gone there in the first place if there was because he gets to a level where he's so good and he prices himself out of leaving RB Leipzig. He's kind of stuck at RB Leipzig, whereas if he goes as a 21-year-old kid or 17-year-old kid in this case, right, come to us, and if you get to a level where we think you can get to, someone can have you for 50 million quid. And as his agent, you're like, absolutely fine, because we'll go, we'll develop, and then we can move you to a good team. If you just sign there with none of these break clauses, you can almost find yourself trapped at like Wilfred Zaha's found himself trapped at Crystal Palace. He's priced himself out of a move because they can't sell him for anything less than what he's worth. But then no one's going to stump up 100 million for Wilfred Zaha. It's just never going to happen. So he's kind of stuck. That's why these Leipzig play really clever. Their recruitment's really, really smart. And
well, like they want to sell players. It's like there's no like embarrassment to it. There's a bit we have this with Liverpool when they go like, oh, Liverpool are sell to buy, like it's a horrendous day.
There's about 3 clubs in the world that aren't.
Yeah,
everyone else is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's it. There's not being a self-sustainable business is not like. It's not a mucky concept, you know what I mean? It's fine. They just don't. They because it's quite cynical, and we see the structure of their business and all that. It's the transparency's there, and I'm not saying I would enjoy that. I wouldn't like Liverpool to be, in a lower down of a rung and accept their position in the food chain. But that's where they are right now. You have to get to the higher
rung, and they're only going to be able to do that by the way that they're doing it now is getting good players in. And I tell you what, Steve said there, the players don't dream of going to RB. They should do, because as a percentage, you've got a better chance of getting to a fucking massive club if you go and play for a club like them who put contracts in place like that. Because all of them look like there's just so many that move on to bigger and better things from that club. It's much better going there than Crystal Palace. Yeah. Because you're pretty much stuck there forever, aren't you?
Well, the filters there is amazing. It was mentioned that, I think it was in the Athletic article about him, that there was no chance he was going to Salzburg because they just felt he was good enough to go straight to Leipzig. But they've got that line of progression, and look at Minamino as an example. Like, we got him on a very, very low fee, but that's there's just levels. They've got it's just very, very smart run business, aren't they? Yeah, very, very much so. But on this Konate stuff, Sam, where do you stand on this? 21, he'll be 22 soon. He's 6'4". He's obviously very, very highly rated around Europe. He's had a horrendous injury that kept him out for most of last season and the start of this season, which I think is raising a couple of red flags. But go on, what's your take on him?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that actually, but I've subsequently read that. Really, he's only had 3 injuries in the last 3 seasons, but one of them being such a long time, and the sort of hampers that he had within that makes it look a lot worse when you actually look at it with some context attached to it. It's a little bit like Joe Gomez in that, his injuries are all, he's not a niggly injury type player, do you know what I mean? He's had a big injury, and you just got to hope that he gets the luck moving forward. But in terms of profile, it's spot on. What is it, 35 million quid, depending on who you believe. Young player, loads of potential, very fast, so it suits our high line. He's got experience of playing at the top end of the league. Now, just to slightly reverse a little bit there into your previous concept, this guy's competing for the league title this year, and it's not the first time. This is the 3rd year in a run they've been in the title race. In fact, I would say they blew it last year. So we're not talking about a player now who's playing for your Stuttgart or your Wolfsburg, lower down the league, or usually lower down. We're talking about a player who's competed for the title and played in the Champions League. So he ticks all the boxes for me. Perfect sort of, role model with Van Dijk being there, and he's got peers in Joe Gomez. And depending on if we keep Matip or not, I think it's a spot on signing, absolutely perfect. And fingers crossed to get it over the line.
The interesting thing here, because we've seen loads of conflicting reports on this. So David Ornstein's the one who's saying Liverpool are close to finalising the deal. Then the Echo say it's not nowhere near that close, but he is on a 5-man shortlist. And then of course you've got Leipzig coming out and saying there's no go on it. Then you've got people saying, Chris Williams was saying the ideal world for Liverpool is that they keep Kabak and sign Konate. Then you've got the Echo saying it's going to be one or the other. I think it helps Liverpool in some way to kind of obfuscate the situation so people don't quite know exactly what you're doing, even in a world where people have got a broad idea. where do you stand on this on the Kabak thing, Chris? Because when I heard it was both, I was like, spot on, because I think Liverpool need to buy 2 centre-halves this summer. But if it's one or...
No, I think if it's one or the other, they won't make a decision until they've seen the Kabak for the rest of the season. And I expect that if it's both, I think they might make a decision on Ibrahima earlier, because I think they're going to judge. Why would you make a decision on Kabak now? He's had like a handful of starts for us. Like, you've got so much time there to just evaluate, see how much he improves, see if he can play in the system that you want. You'd just be rushing into it for no reason. So for me, I think Liverpool probably need 2. I think, you know, in an ideal world, I think Matip's still probably the top partner for Virgil van Dijk, but you can't trust him injury-wise. You just
because he is a niggling injury kind of player.
It's all the time. So then you need four others, in my opinion. I think you need to go into next season with 5 to make sure that this type of stuff doesn't happen again. You've got Nat Phillips for next season anyway, because I think his contract runs out at the end of next year. So you're absolutely saying Kabak can understudy Virgil van Dijk if you need him to, or Joe Gomez, whatever. Joe Gomez and Ibrahima can sort the right-hand side out, and if Matip's fit and available, he goes in and knocks everybody out the way for 3 games at a time. But that's it. What I don't like about all of this is... this, like, and I do this as well, but like, we all read so much about footy players. You've almost made a decision on whether the player's going to make it at Liverpool before you've even seen him put on a red shirt. Does that not infuriate you?
Yeah, I mean, like, this whole is injury prone, so it's why we sign an injury prone player. When I think that's overstating the thing. You've also got these people who've become like, everyone's got an uncle or a dad or an old fella who immediately writes players off. Speaking of which, Steve Hoare has decided Ozan Kabak is just not good enough to play for Liverpool on like 5 games worth of evidence. So I trust you fall into the camp of, you've just decided Liverpool don't need to bother picking him up in the summer and just go for someone else.
Yeah, my issue mainly with the Kabak thing was that Liverpool were desperate for a centre-half, and they went and got a lad in who was really raw and didn't really suit. It made no sense to be that loan. If the plan was bring a lad in who's like Kabak, and he's going to sit to be 4th choice, and then you're going to sign him and bring... The fact is, Liverpool were desperate, and I just don't think he was ready to just go in and bang, be Liverpool's first choice centre back. I think he's too slow. Is the main thing the issue I've got with him. Like, we can't play a high line with him. I don't think he's that fast. I don't know if that's ever going to change. Like, he just looks really slow, and it's kind of, you mentioned Nat Phillips there before, Chris, and I wouldn't be shocked if Liverpool sold Nat Phillips in the summer on the back of what he's doing now. So if he's going to be 5th or 6th choice, you might as well make a few million quid off the lad before you lose him for nothing. And he might go and get a game for... You know, he was nearly in the Championship on lower anyway. A lower Premier League team might want him, or a Championship team. But if you said to me, Kabak's Liverpool's 5th choice centre-half, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Because you're not really going to get... That's what it is. I don't think he's good enough to be first choice, and that's my problem with him now. He's a young kid. That's what he's 20. He might be amazing, but he's not there yet. So... But then Ibrahima's in a similar boat. He's a young lad as well. The issue we've got...
Would you pay, sorry, Steve, just for the sake of argument on this one, because you're right, I think we're judging Kabak like he is that, because he is at the moment, because we've got no other players to be that. But like, if you look at him like the profile of what Curtis Jones is, and Curtis Jones has played too much football this season, but if it's a world where he's playing 15 games a season plus bits and pieces if and when you need him, is that a situation where you're fine with him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I'll be honest, I think Matip's kind of the exception, because I think our centre-backs need pace. I think it's hard to be a Liverpool centre-half without pace. Now Matip does it well, but he has got a bit of recovery pace about him, to be fair.
Yeah.
Kabak, he looks... But he's raw. It might not be pace. It might be that he just doesn't anticipate quick enough so that he looks...
Well, there's a great foot race between him and Timo Werner, isn't there, in the Chelsea game? And he doesn't... We don't keep it out in the end, but he matches Timo Werner. I mean, we remember doing the commentary on that, Chris, and being a bit like, oh, wow. I mean, you literally celebrated as a track and back, because it was... He did it, but also I go back to the Leicester game and he just looked like he was running in treacle.
Look, listen, I think it helps to be fast when you're playing a high line. Of course, it's going to help, and Steve's right there. But Steve's also sort of alluding to the fact that experience and a bit of game nous will change things. When we're talking pace between centre-halves, right, we're not talking me versus Usain Bolt here. They're all of a pretty similar level.
Yeah.
They really are. And centre-backs quite often get recorded as faster than forwards over the course of a season because they're just as fast as the forwards and stuff like that. You just don't see it as often and stuff. But they always get recorded there or thereabouts. I think Johnny Evans was fastest in the league a few years ago, and you'd never think that to look at him. But it comes down to like if you're doing 100 metres, the start's just as important as everything else. If you've got a 1 metre head start on a lad, you're probably going to get there first. If you've anticipated that ball over the top first, you're going to get there first. That's as much a part of it as being fast. That'll take time because Kabak didn't play in a high line defence, and it's new to him, so it's going to take a little bit of time. And that's why I said at the start of this, you want to evaluate Kabak over the time that you've got, not off the first 5 games, because he shouldn't be the player on the last game of the season if he plays every week than he was when you signed him.
Can we just put, based on what we've seen from Ben Davies, Sam, there is a chance that Kabak we've done this Kabak deal just because we needed a body, and the only way for us to get this body in, this is a really cynical view of this, by the way, is that to almost make out like we are buying him. And yes, we've been able to run the rule over him because it says to me that if Liverpool are finalising a deal for Konate and it is one or the other, then it says to me they've seen all they need to see from Kabak. And the reason was they've got him in because he was all that was available. So they've basically created this mad scenario where they've got this lad in on loan, told him he's the bollocks, and made it work. But there's a chance that, going back to like Klopp's quote about not being able to get really good players in January, that we've just gone, Ben Davies and Kabak are just all we could get done, but they've never been real long-term plans for Liverpool.
And we want to collect a card in January. That's been pretty widely written about now from the beginning. And Marseille couldn't find a replacement throughout January, so it got binned. And you're right, so Kabak could win. I mean, the way I look at it is this. Ben Davies, if he's got a yard of pace and he's got half a football brain, for £2 million, I can see him staying next season as the 5th choice defender if he's looking like he might offer a bit more or a different pathway than Phillips. I look at Kabak and I think, is Kabak ever going to play in a world where Konate, Van Dijk, Matip and Gomez are about? No. For £18 million, the Liverpool Football Club really going to spend that money on a 5th choice player, maybe even 4th? I don't think we are. So I can actually see a world more where we keep Phillips or Davies as 5th choice because of the value you're getting in your investments in the player. But also, the likes of Nat Phillips, what I like about Nat Phillips is I can pick out for you 5 games in a season where he's justified a start next to Van Dijk, Burnley away. Other games, it's depending on who comes up, but games where you really need to stick your head on in anything to win the ball, where we have been bullied in the past, Crystal Palace that time. So I see more value in Phillips playing certain games in the season, if that's the way we want to go. Whereas I look at Kabak, I just don't see where he's going to get his game time over the next 2 seasons if we sign Konate.
That's the interesting point, because I think Kabak's fine, and I'm not gonna. We've had this in our Redmen WhatsApp group where I go to bat for Kabak. I'm fine. I think he's fine. I think I've been quietly impressed with him, but I also you get provoked into a reaction where I'm sort of defending him like he's the next great centre half on the planet. The issue is, at 21 years old, is he going to have the game time to be able to actually develop into the player that Liverpool need him to be? Now, of course, the same issue is exactly true of Konate, because it goes down, is he better than Gomez, and is he better at Matip? The thing that Liverpool have to consider, Chris, and I think Liverpool need to do this summer what Man City did last summer, is have one more than you need. And it's not very Liverpool, and it's not very Jurgen Klopp, but we struggled this season, and Matip has always been Matip. I don't think you can factor in losing 3 people to season-ending injuries regardless of what happens, but you're getting 3 lads who've just come back from season-ending injuries. Virgil van Dijk cannot play every game next season, no matter how strongly he comes back, if only because it's just be a bit stupid to gamble with him. So I think there's more game time available in a more natural rotation, and Kabak's already in. He's already integrated after half a season. 15 million, you're never going to lose money on him a year on if you have to move him on, but you've done your due diligence. I think
you're absolutely right. I think Liverpool probably needs to go into this season with 6 centre halves, and why wouldn't you? Because you still don't know with Matip. You know he's going to get injuries. question marks are going to be asked of Joe Gomez.
No one's buying Matip, by the way.
Exactly.
I see people saying this, so you're going to keep Matip regardless, just to
Exactly. So Joe Gomez has had his own injury, completely different, big, unfortunate ones. But at some point, you're going to start questioning whether this is just what happens to this guy. Players do occasionally grow through their football career like that. And you don't know what's happening with Virgil van Dijk. So yeah, Kabak, Nat Phillips maybe, Ben Davies, maybe this lad coming in, something like that. That might work. So again, for me, it's about hedging your bets at this point. And I think that's what Liverpool have got to do. Yeah. I like the look of this lad. I liked him when he played against, was it Manchester United recently? And he makes that incredible recovery tackle on Rashford when he's completely beat. I think the right back gives the ball away. Rashford's inside of him in the penalty area. And he comes storming across and manages to slow Rashford down. He's lining one up there. And I'm like, oh, that's tasty. That was really good defending. He showed a little bit of recovery pace, more so than what Kabak's got.
Yeah.
Plus, he's fucking huge. Yeah. And he's a bit Matip-like in that he likes to dribble out from the back, like a ridiculous amount.
Well, this is the thing. I think Joe Gomez, the hope is Joe Gomez has got a long-term future. And I think, people see him as the foil for Van Dijk, but we've also seen him being groomed as the understudy to Van Dijk as well, because he's got that composure and he's so comfortable on the ball. But the problem is, and this is Kabak's issue as well, is that neither of them are giants, and they do leave you a little bit short, literally and figuratively. So having someone like bringing in Konate, having another 6'4" lad offers you security defensively, offers you options moving forward as well, and it gives you a bit of a suite of options. Because so for me, Konate is the upgrade on Matip. And then, but he's also given a bit of competition for Gomez. I just think we need options, and I wonder whether you look at it and go, is Ben Davies good enough to be a covering option? And is the same true of Nat Phillips? And then also you go, well, hang on, do we have the money? Because if we've got the money, just get Kabak sorted and buy Konate. And I'm sorry that we love Nat Phillips. I think he's great. But there's a time when your nostalgia and your personal opinion on stuff gets put aside. If you're just buying someone who's just better, you're just buying someone who's just an actual upgrade on what you do. We shouldn't be buying backups. We should be buying lads who are
got the potential to get into that first team, and I think that's what Liverpool are seeing right now.
And Kabak is. At the moment, we don't know quite yet, and we can't know until we get the good lads back.
Thing, though, you look at centre backs around the league. Connor Cody's a perfect example. Did anyone really think he'd be playing centre back for a top 8 club when he left Liverpool? You don't know at that age. Yeah. So at 21, when you're a centre half, your career can go loads of different ways, and that's the thing. The Liverpool want to sort of groom a centre half who's going to be fully integrated into this side, that maybe in 3-4 years time, if you're patient, he takes a first team spot. Are they willing to gamble 18 million on that right now, or do you think they'd maybe like to gamble 50-60 million in a couple of years time? With the two of them both being 21, it looks like Liverpool are doing a bit of long term planning here, and they're hoping that our lads can come in next season, and maybe the year after one of them breaks through, or the year after that if we're lucky with injuries. So I think it looks like smart business by Liverpool right now, but that's obviously dependent on whether they break into the. We could buy them and they might never play a game of footy and we sell them.
Yeah, we just need to be careful next season. That's the big thing on this, is that and you want players who've got resale value. You're better off spending money. And it's almost you're investing a bit, because, rather than the Nat Phillips thing, it's great. You might have missed the window of opportunity, as you're saying, to pick up a really good, promising player for the Nat Phillips thing, when Nat Phillips' value is arguably never going to be higher than it is right now. You might get 10 million for him in the summer. You might get 10 million for Ben Davies, and you've replaced him.
No way. Surely he signed him for 2. Don't ever play the minute and sell him for 10.
No, but it's mad, isn't it? But that's the thing, isn't it? That's where
Michael Edwards are.
Yeah, well, no, but
God amongst men.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Yeah, but there's some. But I like the fact that there's a bit of a fog of war thing going on that Liverpool have generated here. They've put up this sort of like smoke screen around what we're doing, so we're not quite certain with it. But it's mad. Ben Davies might be telling the truth. He might be like, I'm taking a bit more time with him to get him used, and he might play the back end of the season. All of a sudden, we're raving about it. I don't think so, but then again, we can do what we want on that. It depends on your attitude. Right, next 5 games define our season. Sam Walker, Arsenal away at the weekend on the Saturday. It's been moved back to the Saturday 8 o'clock kickoff. We've got Real Madrid, Villa at home, Real Madrid, Leeds away. And I think if Liverpool somehow come away with 9 points, which is, it's possible, but also on this season, who the hell knows? And if we manage, and with the Champions League game in there, It's just season defining. It is what it is. Are we on for top 4? Are we on for a semi-finals? We'll know in a few weeks' time.
I think this is definitely a case of the old cliche, take it a game at a time. And what I mean by that is because of the league stability or lack of in terms of performances from other teams, including ourselves as well, we could win against Arsenal and find ourselves right up Chelsea's arse. They're playing West Brom. God knows what can happen with them. You just don't know. All the other teams, every game now, every team around us, including up to Man United, you just don't know what they're going to do. City are probably the only team in Sheffield United where you can say, they're going to win, they're going to get beat. Everyone else is in a real state of flux all the time. So, for me, if we beat Arsenal, it puts us in a fantastic position to push on the league. 1 or 2 wins can change our whole position. And the same goes in the Champions League. So those first 2 games, the only game to look at. If we get a positive result against Real Madrid, it's on. If we suddenly go and get beat 3-0 at the Bernabeu, that's it. Or wherever it is, their training ground, it's over. So I think, I know we're talking about the next 5 games, but personally for me, Arsenal is massive. Yeah. If you beat Arsenal, we go into Real Madrid with maybe a second chance on the horizon, but knowing that top 4 is right there for us. I believe it will be. I believe we beat Arsenal, we go into the Villa game almost like we did in the Chelsea game, where it's like, look, we're within a game of it again now. So I think it's got to be a lot more short-term, our thinking as fans and maybe even as the team as well.
We were doing this on the show last week, Steve, and it's one of those, is that Liverpool just need to prove to us that they're capable. We've seen the Champions League stuff, and I think we all know, Champions League, it can happen. It can certainly happen because it's mad and it's European football and all the pedigree and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the league form, they just need to, we won the Wolves game. If you beat Arsenal, you've all of a sudden won 2 back-to-back league games. Woo-hoo! Yeah. Get another one then, and you're on a run. You've got a little bit of momentum, you've got a little bit of something, and as Sam's alluding to there, everyone is losing games all the time or dropping points or whatever. But that's where it's a hope more than expectation at this point. But that's what Liverpool have got to do. They've got to make it an expectancy, or try their best to do that.
Yeah, it's a bit 2005. Really. A better team we've got, but you've got a top 4 race here that you're the outsiders for, and you've got your Champions League run, and then it becomes a case of you try and keep both of them going as long as you can, and at some point you might have to prioritise. So if we can get through the Real Madrid game, then the top 4 race almost, although it's important, it becomes a second fiddle to get in Champions League semi-final. That's the focus. So I'm with Sam. Forget the next 5 games, it's the next 2 games really. If you lose to Arsenal, top 4 might be pretty much done, especially if the other teams are out. Because it looks like, obviously City are going to be nailed on. Leicester look like they're pretty much nailed on. You're fighting for 2 spaces, and even as inconsistent as Man United have been, they're probably just about done enough already to be in the big head start. So you're narrowing your options. You have to beat Arsenal if you want top 4, and then obviously the Champions League then becomes it's its own thing anyway. My worry with the Champions League is that we don't have the Anfield factor. And that's a worry when you are a lesser team. And it's mad to say that about Liverpool considering what we've just done, but this season we're not very good. We're a middle of the road team, unfortunately. Hopefully that can change as lads start getting fit and things like that. So we haven't got that. So we're gonna have to be balls out in that Champions League to get anything. I think we can do that against Real Madrid. I think we've got the firepower to beat them. It's when you start looking at what's further down the line, it's a bit. Clench your teeth. But listen, mate, the draws worked out well for us in that if you get past Real Madrid and you've got Chelsea or Porto, you'd back this Liverpool team as they are now to be able to do something against those 2. The final takes care of itself because it's probably going to be a City, a Bayern, a PSG. It's a one-off game in Istanbul. Who knows? Kind of thing. We've been there before. But I wouldn't be shocked if Klopp's thinking is primarily Champions League. I think we saw that actually with the team he picked before we played the second leg of Leipzig when we rested a lot of players against Fulham. That was a bit of a surprise to me. It was almost like, geez, that he really is going. And Rafa did this as well. That's a similar stage. Remember the Arsenal quarter final, and we played the Arsenal the game before, and we had Plessis and Robbie Keane. I was like, what's going on here? He's jibbed it. He's not bothered. And maybe Klopp's going to it.
What a legend.
Maybe
Klopp's in that game. I mean, the thing that Steve points out there, Chris is right. The Premier League is a grind now. It is inch by inch kind of situation. And when you're chasing, that is a very demoralising position to be in, because you can go and give your all, and you go and you get that like heroic, we've got one over the line, and everyone else wins. And you've gained nothing, and you've exerted a lot of energy when you've got other big games on the horizon. That's where teams fall into the trap when you're chasing top four, which is a position in the league, but you're chasing a piece of silverware. That's how focus is lost. So I agree on that. The Arsenal one, particularly because I expect Chelsea to pick up 3 points at the weekend. You need to do it just to do it. The battle of the Premier League is going to be, if we're going to get top four, I think it's going to be a last game of the season, 2 games maybe go to the season. You've got to do that, but you've got to put the foundation in place.
I completely agree with you. The only thing is, and I think it's what the lads were sort of saying there, is that because everyone is losing points, it's not so demoralising, because I think there's a belief probably that, all right, we didn't do, but they're going to drop points and we might be able to still get back into this. Yeah. That's the only thing. In a normal season, I think we might already be too far behind, to be honest. We might already be too much of a struggle for us. But for me, this Arsenal game, I mean, the fact that there's 3 days between the Arsenal game and the Madrid game makes me think a little bit like Stayers. I wonder what the focus is going to be here, because I've had a big break for the last 2 weeks, and you've had a break from the footy from the last 2 weeks. These lads have been playing 3 games. I mean, it's not been a break at all. And how long are they getting back? When are they getting back in? When are you getting your training done? When are you then thinking about Real Madrid? So I'd imagine as soon as you get the lads back in, you're probably already practicing a little bit for Arsenal, a little bit for Real Madrid already. You've already taken the focus off the Premier League game by just doing that, by speaking about it, because you ain't going to you need 2 days recovery, Sunday, Monday, day of the game. Yeah. When are you talking about Real Madrid? Yeah. So I think the focus, it's going to be a very hard game to win, is what I'm trying to say, against Arsenal, because I think the focus is already going to be split because of how big the Real Madrid game is. Yeah, it's a fascinating sort of situation, and look, at least we've got something to be excited about, which makes a nice change from just the drab dross of everything. And I hope Liverpool kind of cash in on the spirit of positivity that's rising with the sun shining and shops being back open, and we're on the path to beer gardens and all that kind of stuff. That would be lovely indeed. We had a super chat from Trig Josh. Everyone's asked about the gym, and I'm just asked about the pubs, Paul.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I need to get the gym. I'm like, get the fucking pubs open now.
Yeah. Trig Josh.
I've even downloaded the Neverspoons app in preparation.
The Neverspoons.
Yeah, it puts a tag on all the pubs that are in a Wetherspoons, so you don't go there by accident, and puts green tags on all the independent pubs near you. Brilliant. It's like little amber tags for ones that are like 25 pubs or more, stuff like that. So you stay clear of them. Get to the independents, Neverspoons. Wow. Got it downloaded. I'm ready, mate. I'm prepped. I'm going.
How are you going to... Does it also tell you which has got beer gardens? Because that's going to be a big...
It doesn't.
As well.
But I will be on to the owners of the app.
You're going to end up in the 5 ways.
I'm not. It's just Wetherspoons.
Exactly, but it's got to be a garden.
I'm not going back there.
Trig Josh is in support of my favourite YouTube channel, the £20 super chat. Thank you, Josh. Do you guys believe in aliens?
No.
Anyone?
Yes.
Sam?
No. Boff. Yeah. Okay.
Surely, we can't be alone in an infinite cosmos. We can't be the only creatures.
There's fucking dogs and cats and everything
on one planet.
Oh yeah, but who cares?
Area 51.
We're not alone. What difference would it make if some fucking things lived on another planet? It's just like having a dog. What? Isn't it? It's just the other things that aren't human. Sound, innit? Everyone makes a big deal out of aliens. It's like, so what?
That's a very British colonial vibe to it there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. These bloody aliens, look at them. Right, sound. We're going to wrap that up there. Thank you so much.
Carl Pilkington, that I think, actually.
Yes, thank you so much, guys, for joining us for the podcast. Do go and check out the Jamie Carragher interview. It's streaming now on the redmentv.com. We've also got an amazing competition running for people who sign up at Club Legend level over on there. We can win a signed Luis Suarez printer. We've got amazing monthly prizes for those guys and loads of extra bonus features, as well as all the great content. So do go and check it out. More details will follow in a moment. But thank you to Sam, thank you to Steve, thank you to Chris, and thank you to you guys. Go and enjoy the sunshine. See you soon. Ta-ra. Hey everyone, do you want to be in with a chance of winning an exclusive limited edition signed Luis Suarez print? Well, you can be. Either upgrade your membership or join up at a Club Legend level on the redmentv.com right now. You get access to a whole suite of incredible content, documentaries, features, exclusive interviews with Liverpool legends, past and present. It is a fully functional Liverpool streaming service for your eyes and ears. There is 1 week left on the Luis Suarez print competition, so get involved right now. But don't worry, if you miss out on that next month's competition draw, you will automatically be entered into that as well to win an incredible Liverpool pin badge collection. We've got exclusive prizes for you guys every single month as club legends on the redmentv.com, as well as all those amazing pieces of content each and every month. So get signed up now and win amazing prizes.